Before me are a variety of tools that I've used. Something to clean up the edges and the bottom. Another tool, basically a rib. Good angle at the top. For the bottom, good form. Nice functional piece. Another piece for trimming and detailing sides. It's really good. I like this side for smoothing out little corners. Always a sponge. A couple of traditional ribs, metal versus wood. The metal actually grabs onto the clay differently than the wood does, and it creates a cleaner surface. So some people even call this the metal rib of death, because it grabs the clay like it does. Various forms of trimming tools with edges and angles for adding texture to the surface of your piece. One of the first pieces I got of tools in the first beginner set is this thing, and it basically does the same thing. More texture, more surface, more little cleaning. I picked up 2 of these today out of my box of tools. The wire, cutting wire, good for everything. And this is a really neat tool called the Steve's tool. It's kind of an interesting tool with a variety of shapes and sizes of pins and paddles that texture the side of the piece before I expand it. I hope to show you some of that. Called a Steve's tool. It's really cool. And we'll center it. Now, centering is a lot like, well, it's a very intimate part of the clay throwing process. And you really have to get your body into it as an extension of yourself. And you're giving birth, okay? It is becoming part of you. You're extending yourself through it. I know it's extreme, but you're creating a piece of clay. You're creating a form that could possibly be used for years, for centuries. It could end up in a museum. So, I use just enough water on the surface of the clay so that it's uniformly wet. Not too much, not too little. I basically just wet my hands whenever necessary when I start to feel dry spots, and ensure that the surface of the clay is uniformly wet. Now, I get the clay up to what I consider to be a reasonable speed. And then, using sort of a triangle here, from my body to the center of the piece of clay, I brace my arm against my side. And as I lean into it, it's coming towards the camera. You can see that. But if I had my arm here, you could see that this arm is doing the same thing. But I throw with the wheel going in a counterclockwise direction. So it's coming into this hand, and I use the base of this hand to center the clay. So the surface of the clay is uniformly wet. I'm using this triangle here between me and my body, and I'm bracing my hand, and I'm using this part of my hand against the base of my hand against the base of the clay also. So I lean into it, and I hold the clay down with my right hand, and I consider it kind of like a karate chop. So just on this portion of my hand, I have pressure on the clay. So I lean into it, and then I can push down on it with my karate chop, and I'm moving it back and forth like this to round out that top. Now, I have this hand motion like this, so with the base of my hand here, I keep the base of the clay from expanding out. So as I throw the piece, you can see the effect of my hand turning as I throw it. And you can see it get undercut here, and that's the base of this hand coming into the clay to keep it from getting down, spreading out, becoming a puddle. So I can cone it up, and then lean on it again to center it, and I back off slowly. And I call that easy on, easy off. You get onto it slowly, you lean onto it slowly, you apply pressure onto it slowly. Whenever you touch the clay, you ease onto it and ease off. Now it's kind of like water in that if you jump on it, you'll splash. And you don't want to splash, you just want to ease on and move the clay gradually. And literally, you don't leave any ripples that way or any splashes in the clay.